Jesus presents us with the parable of the weeds and the wheat. In that parable of the wheat and the weeds, we'll find the wheat farmer, whom Jesus tells us is God, the owner of the vineyard. And in that parable, Jesus tells us of the infinite wisdom of God and how God exercises justice and mercy. Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 to 30. We are told in the gospel reading that the farmer sowed wheat, and while men were sleeping, his enemies came and sowed weeds among the wheat. The two grew together. But the servants of the householder were unhappy seeing both grow together. And they had to go to their master. Do we weed out these unwanted plants from what we planted? And he said to them, the judgment would be at the harvest. At the harvest, which is the close of the age, there would be a separation. One thing we'll find in that gospel reading is that parable of the weeds of the field explains to us how God allows a sinner and a saint to live side by side, to pray and worship together. In that parable of the weeds of the field, we are presented with a God who allows good and evil to coexist. A God who allows his sun to shine on both saints and sinners. When you go through the book of the Psalms, Psalm 86 tells us, or speaks beautifully of this God, who is good and forgiving, who is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and fidelity. In the first reading, the author of the book of wisdom explains the mercy and the patience of God. When we speak about the mercy of God, we must also remember, like Deuteronomy 32:4 tells us, Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 5 tells us, that inasmuch as God is merciful, inasmuch as God is a God that is gentle, compassionate, loving, and kind, he is also a God of justice. Because the gospel tells us that at the harvest, God will say to the reapers, who he describes as the angels, gather the weeds in bundles and put them into the fire. And it says, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Today, my dear friends in Christ, the Lord reminds us of the need to continue to prepare ourselves for his kingdom. He's not scaring us with the fires of hell. He's not scaring us with the judgment day. He's reminding us of the need to follow him. Sometimes the reason why many of us keep the commandments and remain Christians is because we do not want to go to hell. But what should lead us to follow and keep the commandments is because we want to love God and to be with him on the last day. Let us ask ourselves, when I meet God, where would I want to spend eternity? Where would I want to spend the life after now?